nothing but love and respect. You might have some cool fans, but mine are the best. We've been through it all, went to war when duty called. Never left a man behind, we move as one is super strong. I don't want followers, that implies I'm the leader. I'm not the captain, I just gave them something they can believe in. I hold the lamp in the darkness, but they're the light that I needed to see the road that we walk in between the angels and demons. And my fans have my back. Hate us if your feelings don't like facts. And my fans will fight back. Beat you with the keyboard you've been using to write back. I guess we need each other like both sides of the battery. We the army, we the homies, we the gang, we the cavalry. We're brothers and sisters, we hold it down like we gravity. Can't nobody break the bond that made us all family. Me and my fans, we don't care what anybody say. Middle fingers to whoever in the way, man. Me and my fans, we gon' be together till the grave. It's a game till forever and a day, man. Me and my fans, we don't even trip with the hate. We got all in our veins, man. Me and my fans, we the hangover gang. Gang, 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 gang.
Aaron Tuttle here. It's storm season in Oklahoma, and with that comes torrential rain, high winds, and hail. To protect your home and your family from these threats, the one roofing company you should trust is Ferguson Roof Systems. They've been providing the best in roofing services for nearly half a century. Ferguson is Oklahoma's full-service roofing company, certified with an A+ Better Business Bureau rating and a 5-star rating on Google. And with Ferguson now offering Class 4 impact-resistant shingles, now is the time to trust them with your home's roof. Get started today at FergusonRoofSystems.com.
Hey everyone, Meteorologist Aaron Tuttle back with you again. It's about 9:30 on a Sunday night. I know you're kind of getting ready for bed, ready for the work week. But we are finally here. It is a T-minus countdown of what was supposed to be a 3-day love affair of severe weather here across Oklahoma. So we shall see. There was a lot of talk, a lot of hype, and will it live up to that? So thanks for joining me. I'll talk about that on the science side. We'll get you into the details as to what is going to happen, when and why, how and how often, and who is going to be seeing some of this severe weather, and what kind of severe weather will you see. And we're going to start actually probably with later on this evening here. It's about 9:30, like we said, but about 10:30 or 11, we might start to see some thunderstorms bubbling up here. We'll tell you about that and more. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks for subscribing, by the way, to YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, tapping the bell, all that stuff to get notified. I see you guys checking in on YouTube. Jim is there. He's very happy. Because I didn't force him to go to Facebook to watch it live. The other night I had a little problem with YouTube. I forgot to press the button until it was too late. And so, therefore, Jim had to go to Facebook. Sorry about that, brother. All right, tell you what, on Facebook, I am going to post the link to get where you can opt in to get my live weather updates. In other words, let's say that Facebook is late to show you or tell you when I do go live, and you're like, maybe it's already 10 minutes into it, and you're like, just now getting a notification. Well, that's no good, right? So click that link I just posted to opt in, and I will send you a direct message from your Facebook Messenger. And I think it was about 2 weeks ago, a lot of us picked up a NOAA weather radio. So if you'd like to get one, I just posted a link there as well on Facebook, so you can pick you up a NOAA weather radio. And then Jody, if you can do me a favor, you can copy those and put those on YouTube for me, so those guys can see it as well. And let's see, there was one more thing I wanted to share. This is big. This is huge. Huge. Okay, so one more link I'm going to post here on Facebook before we get started. And Jody, you can post this one as well. This is a link to my Facebook event coming up on Thursday at 8 o'clock. I'm going to do a live weather classroom, and we'll have a Q&A afterwards. It's about 30 minutes talking to you about all things severe weather. Then about the next half hour just answering your questions. We're going to cover all of them. We'll cover the tornadoes, the lightning, the hail, everything, flooding, you name it. We're going to talk about that in a lot more detail. It's going to be really educational, so make sure the kids are there. So it'll be a family event learning about severe weather and how you can be safe from it. So make sure you join me on that Facebook event coming up here later this week. So I'm excited about that. All right, let me see here. Let me load up my own video on Facebook, because sometimes Facebook will give me the wrong one. I don't understand it. How are they giving me my own wrong video? But they do. They'll show me a video from 24 hours ago. I'm like, that's not live, dude. That's really old. I don't know what's wrong with those people, but whatever. We'll move on. Okay, so everything's good to go. Everybody's watching. Guys on Twitter, YouTube. Okay, so let's do it. Let's hit it. All right, so first thing, obviously, we kind of tell a little change in the air if you've gone out here just in the last few minutes, depending on which part of town you're on, the north side of town, the south side of town. We've had a cold front that's come through and it's kind of just stopped, just kind of put the brakes on. So our weather's gonna be a little different. Like for example, right now I've got an east to northeast wind. So that frontal boundary is literally right on top of me. And then it's gonna start to retreat though as a warm front. And we're gonna show you that. So here's a big picture of the state. This little highlighted area here that's kind of just moving around animation. That is for a mesoscale discussion for severe storms coming up here in the next couple of hours from the Storm Prediction Center. And then here in the null numbers, these are dew point values. So dew point values here into the 50s and 60s like we talked about, which is that moist air coming in. But if you look here in Stillwater, dew point value 39, Guthrie's 39, Watonga's 37. So you're saying, well, how is that so different? Well, because we've got that cold front that separates the two air masses. And earlier we had a nice little view. I'm gonna hit the replay button. We'll see if we still, if this goes back far enough to pick up the little fine line of the cold front boundary, and it kind of gets washed out here with all the other bugs and stuff, and this the atmospheric inversion and whatnot. There you go. You can barely see a little fine line up here that was just barely there. So let me see. Maybe this radar will show a little bit better. We'll see. Maybe not, but at least we'll get the wind field in it. So you can see how the winds here are going toward northeast direction. And then here they're kind of going into a southeast direction. This is a north. So this kind of gives you the idea. It's kind of snaking through the northwest side of town, something like this. So this is our cold front. Now, it was moving, and now it's no longer moving. So it'll end up turning into, we call this a stationary front when you draw a cold front and a warm front together, which means it doesn't really move. Let's call it a stationary front. And then once it does start to move back to the north, we call the whole thing a warm front, and then we draw new directional indicators on it like this. All right, so anyway, that was a little Weather 101 early classroom style. Okay, let's go on to the bigger picture now. So we know there's a front around. We know that temperatures are a little bit cooler on the north side than they are on the south side. 70s across southern 2/3 of Oklahoma, 60s up in the northwestern third. Here you can see how the winds kind of come together as well across the state. So you got a southeast wind and you got a north to northwest wind all in this region. So we snake our little front on through. We'll do something like this. From Bartlesville to just east of Stillwater through Edmond and then back out south of El Reno, extends on down here to southwest Oklahoma. So the little triple point started to form this afternoon around here, then it kind of formed here and it formed here, and then now it's basically right about here. So that is where the surface low has developed, and that is allowing these winds to come in out of a southeastward direction. What this does is it causes convergence along the cold front. So as you get those warm southerly winds battling in the northeast winds, although it's not light, it is enough, along with that frontal feature itself, to help kick off a little bit of shower and thunderstorm activity here later on tonight. And that will move through the metro overnight. So you will hear some rain toward daybreak as everything kind of moves back to the south and takes the rain with it. Now, just keep this in mind. This is just overall general advice for tomorrow and any day of the week, until we get some much needed rain across the state. If we do not start getting some much needed rain across at least the western half of the state, because right now the eastern half's been getting most of it. If we don't start getting the western half, we're going to have wildfires till we're all blue in the face. And we do not want wildfires in and around big populated areas. That's a no-no. So do your best to keep those at bay. All right, so here is a look at the Storm Prediction Center. This is the mesoscale discussion for that little quadrant we talked about here on the north side of Oklahoma City, along that front and back up toward Tulsa. And the discussion is basically for watch out for large hail, pockets of damaging wind. Earlier they talked about a rogue tornado or two that can get along the boundary. That's still, I think, in place. That really hasn't changed. Here's a look at the water vapor channel, which shows the upper level energy coming in, helping to advance and enhance the cloud cover developing here now over northwest Oklahoma. So this is the new energy wave that's moving in that should help to trigger those showers of storms just probably within the next hour or so. Okay, let's take a look at the upper levels in the jet stream pattern. And the brighter the color, the stronger the energy, the stronger the lift. We have a little bit here across the southern plains moving through tonight into tomorrow morning. That moves on out of here. Then as we head into tomorrow afternoon, let's see. I moved too fast. I'm moving faster than the model. How about that? All right, let's go to Monday. All right, so Monday afternoon, we have just a little bit of tail end energy across eastern Oklahoma that'll move into Arkansas. That's it. It's not a big dynamic system, a lot of push synoptically. It's just going to be... It's different impacts try to get some storms going. We'll detail that here in a minute. The main system, though, is still out here on Monday across the northwest. Now, let's see what happens as we head into Tuesday. On Tuesday, you see this little stuff right here? This is an upper disturbance moving out of Mexico, the southern track of the jet stream, moving through southern, central, and northern Texas. This is a problem if you want severe weather in Oklahoma. What this typically does is it causes way too much cloudiness and rain associated with it in the path. And when that happens, that rain cooled and subsidence air, and sometimes cloudiness, which retards the growth of the heating of the day from the sunshine, doesn't get as hot, and that puts the kibosh on developing storms on Tuesday afternoon and evening across Oklahoma. Now, what will happen here, let me go through time to the evening hours. We don't have any big bright colors moving into Oklahoma. There's no brute forcing with this. So we have this stuff, which is just overall slowly sinking air and nothing to counteract it coming in from the west. That is why the models have had a tough time trying to produce storms on Tuesday. And if they do try to produce them, they die out pretty quickly. So this is good news if you don't want storms, because otherwise the atmosphere is pretty loaded with severe weather ingredients on Tuesday. This is just one of many things that can always go wrong, which is why when you're talking about tornadoes and stuff, you want to hold off until you're about 48 hours away, because stuff like this isn't always visible. So we're going to watch to see if this trend continues. If it does, you may not have much to worry about across Oklahoma at all on Tuesday. Hey, that's a win. That's some good news. Okay, so what will happen is that little system will eventually move through the northern plains into Wednesday itself. And then on Wednesday afternoon and evening, look what happens. It's way up north. It's going to cause a boatload, buckets upon buckets of snow across southern Manitoba, from Winnipeg on down south and east. So watch out for some snow up there. But down here in our neck of the woods, most energy is trailing through Kansas and then curls back up into northern Missouri and Iowa. A little taste down here in Oklahoma, but the problem is the main trough axis is already off to our east. So it ends up being something like this, which means that most of the lift associated with this structure, this pattern, is in this quadrant for severe weather, which means it ain't going to happen on Wednesday. Now, as this system comes through during the day, it'll probably squeeze off some showers and elevated thunderstorms and some weak storms in the eastern half of the state as it quickly moves through during the middle part of the afternoon. But as far as big time severe weather, it ain't going to happen here on Wednesday either. So that's it. So where's our severe weather? All right, well, hang in there. We'll get down to the details besides just tonight. Okay, so that's why, when you're 8 days away from the first day of what's supposed to be a 3-day event, don't start hyping it up. Don't get all excited, because too many things can change. And then you just basically got everybody worked up for nothing. Then everybody gets disappointed. At least the weather people that want this stuff. All right, so here's a look at tonight. So this little brighter color equals the vertical lift in the atmosphere for where the front is. And you can see how it's kind of anchored here over west central Oklahoma right now as we speak. As we head into the midnight hour, it extends across that frontal boundary. So this is where your best opportunity for showers and storms are, from Oklahoma City metro area up through the Tulsa area, as that lift continues overnight with the front, squeezing out some of those showers and storms. And yeah, some of those will be severe, especially as you travel to northeastern parts of the state. All right, and then that is the end of that. So I'm going to put this into motion. We're going to see what happens on Monday. If there's any significant lift here around 700 millibars for Monday afternoon. Where is it? Ooh, just kind of weak stuff, but it's out there. Southeast Oklahoma and western Arkansas, and this happens to be a favorite area for some supercell type development, kind of in this little region here, for Monday late afternoon and evening. Otherwise, the body of the state of Oklahoma, sorry to disappoint you. If you're wanting severe storms, you're not going to get them. All right, so let's go on into, let's go to Tuesday. So, okay. So here again, you see all this red? That's lift in the atmosphere on Tuesday at lunchtime. That should help to generate some cloud cover and some rainfall. Now that big wave moves off in the afternoon to northeast Texas and Arkansas. And then what happens is, by 0Z, we do get new lift that comes in along the dry line out here in the west. But we have a lot of subsidence prior to that, sinking air. Maybe just not enough. As we head into the midnight hour, that lift quickly moves through the state. We'll look at some high-res data to see if it ever produces any storms. But right now, that's kind of the way that looks. All right, now let's go on to the next thing. Dew points. We got to have moisture. If you don't have moisture, you don't have storms. Okay, so the dew points raced into Oklahoma today. Now watch them race southward as we head into tonight and tomorrow, as that front pushes into southeast Oklahoma, pushing all that really moist, unstable air down there. And that's where Mondays also favor, because you've got the best juice in this region right here, from the southeastern tip of the state to about Fort Smith, and then eastward from there. And it does stretch a little bit down toward the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So that's your favorite area for storms, and we'll show you the radar look to it here in a minute. Now, Tuesday night into Wednesday morning, look at all these dudes just race north. You see that? I mean, just, whoo, here we go. This is lunchtime on Tuesday. We got some 70 dew points coming in. Now that, my friends, that's potent, especially for tornadic type activity or supercell activity to feed off of. And normally this would be something that would really be concerning, but we have these other factors going on. So if I were to plot a forecast sounding, one of the factors that we have going on is a very stout cap with a convective temperature of 88 degrees. We're not getting 88 if we've got a cloud shield over across of us for most of the day. Matter of fact, the model thinks we'll only hit 74. That's not enough to break the cap. It means the cap holds, which is good because look at the shear from a southeast direction to a southwest, and the lowest kilometer. That's a lot of turning in a low area of altitude. It's not a very pretty forecast profile in the upper levels. The wind's a little weaker up here for diffluence, etc., and exhaust for the storm, but it's enough to get a tornado, significant hail, 2 to 3, almost 4 inches in diameter. The ship model for the hail, if it's over a 2, you've got greater than 2 inch size hail. Supercells off the chart. Significant tornado, if it were to occur, is in there from the EF2 to maybe EF3. And the Cape values are up around, good grief, 2, 3, 4, 5,000. If it hit the upper 80s, 5,000 it won't, but I mean the 3,000s plus. So, and LCLs are down low. So, I mean, there's a lot of stuff going for tornadoes. But the two factors so far is the cap and what's happening down in Texas. So as long as those two things hold, nothing can happen, thank goodness. Because these type of setups, they don't happen that often. But we do have them each year, and nothing will happen. It's called a bust. In other words, where the forecast calls for severe weather, it's got some action, got some activity there, ingredients, but then something happens that messes it all up. And this is kind of an example like I talked about, which is potential for Tuesday. So if we do look... we'll go from, tell you what, let's move on from that to a close-up view. So let's see, the dew point values for tonight. So the front pushes all that dew point air down to the south, into southeast Oklahoma, and then it comes back into the west and north during the day on Tuesday. I'm going to stop it at 6 o'clock. Here's another problem. This is a weakness I talked about at lunchtime today, and I think last night, if I remember right. So we have a dry line that's setting up. Now the dry line separates the moist air from the dry air, okay? So we have a problem with this as well. And you're like, oh, how many problems do we have? A lot. So dew point values out here in the teens. That's very dry, bone dry. That's skin cracking dry. Out here just east, look at this, dew point value of 70. That's super moist. That's oppressive. That's Houston weather in your backyard. You go out there and breathe it. You're like, ugh. All right, so that's the difference in the air masses. So you've got this, and these storms like to develop along the dry line from the clash of these two air masses, okay? If you have something going for you. Now, there's a problem that we don't have going for us. See how these winds run parallel to the dry line? That is not convergence, my friend. This is convergence. An east-southeast wind and a west-southwest wind. So, remember, we have no strong upper-level brute forcing lift synoptically. At the surface, we don't even have convergence. So we got a lot of things going against us to get any storms at all on Tuesday. So right now, I'm thinking Tuesday's a bust. Something's going to have to change my mind to think, yeah, we're going to have a lot of supercell storms on Tuesday along the I-35 corridor, because right now the data is saying it's not going to happen. So a lot's going to have to change between now and Tuesday. Now, it could. I'm telling you right now, doesn't look all that likely. Okay, so that's kind of how Tuesday's shaping up. So hopefully you're kind of getting the story I'm telling, and I'm telling you the reasons, stepping you through time as to why. Okay, so tonight we do have some elevated cape. So that's, or elevated from the front, but we do have some cape, surface cape as well. That's here, then the yellow, which means there's instability this evening. So any storms that form and kind of ride along this little boundary for the front, it's going to take advantage of this instability and produce some big hail. As we head into tomorrow, let's go ahead through time. You see all the cape gets shoved down to southeast Oklahoma up toward Fort Smith by 5, 6, and 7 o'clock. So if you were to plot like a forecast sounding in that little area, potential hazard type of a tornado, shears, it's okay. It's not overly crazy, but it'll do the job. So yeah, potential tornado, supercell type tornado there in southeast Oklahoma, and up to the Fort Smith area, this little sliver. So basically kind of like this guy here. That's the best favorite area, whereas the rest of the state doesn't have to worry about anything on Monday. All right, so then we go back into Tuesday. You see how the cape values and everything kind of comes back in. Let's stop it at, let's go to 5 o'clock. Now I can already tell there's some problem. You see these little lighter areas? This is a lot of dry air getting mixed in the atmosphere over central Oklahoma. Remember the dry line we talked about was way out here. So the atmosphere is like misaligned already. We're just going to click a spot here for Canadian County, and this is what it's going to show you. Huge difference between the surface dew point and the temperature. A lot of dry air here, which means very high base thunderstorms. When they try to develop, they're going to be moisture starved. They're going to be dying for moisture to ingest, and they're not going to have it. And that's a problem, which is probably why the models that did try to produce a few storms, they quickly died about an hour later because they couldn't feed themselves off anything. Also, the shear is pretty linear at this point in time. It's almost all from a south-southwest direction. There's no turning with height. So it's not a very good profile for a long-lived supercell type storm. It's enough for maybe a pulse storm to go up, produce some hail with it, and then as it tries to get more moisture, it cuts itself off, dies off, and it doesn't do much. So that's kind of what's going to happen here. We'll see, but with the data, that's what it's kind of alluding to. Okay, the tornado parameter, in other words, if you factor in all the ingredients that would indicate a significant tornado, the brighter the colors is kind of the stronger that is. So right now, it is across the southern half of the state, but you still have to have something to form in that area. And right now, we are not looking to see anything form in this region, but still potentially here through the Oklahoma City metro area. So yes, tonight, it depends on where things line up in the front. You could, in theory, have a supercell storm moving through or developing across Canadian or Oklahoma County, possibly producing a tornado as it moves through overnight, which is not a good thing to be at, but that is on the table. It's not a high probability, it's a low probability event, but it's not zero. All right, so we look at Monday in the evening. Your tornado probability is now over here in the Arkansas, and again, eastern, southeastern Oklahoma. And then let's go on to Tuesday. Let's go to the afternoon. And if you notice, this is anemic. I mean, there's not a lot of bright colors on here. This is kind of low end of this whole threshold. There's better probabilities up here in northeastern Kansas, Iowa, closer to that low. So believe it or not, for your Tuesday, you're probably better out seeing severe weather in that area. And then a secondary region down here in North Texas, where I think there'll be some supercells down there probably. All right, so let's take a look at how the forecast goes with the radar here for tonight. So you can see how things blow up. Remember, things are all quiet now at 11 o'clock. Here we go. Shower storms should be erupting. According to the high resolution data, as that new energy comes in, and they will have some trails with them for some hail, maybe potential tornado, we'll see. Otherwise, the showers and storms continue on the I-44 corridor through about 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the morning. When that front gets pressed to the south, it'll start to take the rain along with it. So like I said, through about early tomorrow morning, you will be hearing some raindrops here in Oklahoma City and around the Tulsa area. And then that's 1 o'clock, and then that's it for that. And then here's Tuesday, by the way, this particular model. It's dry Tuesday afternoon. It doesn't even produce any storms at all. But it does have some storms that back build from Kansas all the way down Tuesday evening into Tuesday night. And it has those clipping Oklahoma at 3 o'clock in the morning, Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. At the tail end of it looks like a squall line. By then, so the models do favor potential tornado risk at that. So that would be another late night, after midnight, low tornado probability here for Tulsa, and if it were to dip, change back around parts of central Oklahoma, we'll see. It just won't be our typical afternoon and early evening setup of the dry line. It'll be something completely different. So let's take a look, expanded view. Again, those showers and storms move off. Let's head on into what it could potentially look like for Monday afternoon. So like we said, a supercell storm possible here in southeast Oklahoma, moving into western Arkansas. So western Arkansas is pretty favorable for a few tornadoes on Monday afternoon and evening. So you guys know that. I mean, there's quite a few there. So that looks like a pretty active day for you guys, or evening, I should say, across Arkansas for tornadic producing thunderstorms. So take those serious. If I were to do a forecast point sounding, let's do that right here, kind of in this area before they kind of move in. All right, so this is what you don't want to see, but it does say PDS tornado. Now, what is the difference between a sounding forecast that shows tornado and one that says PDS tornado? It's the magnitude of the potential tornado. In other words, PDS stands for particularly dangerous situation. And what that means is, if we look down here at the effective layer that they use for the ingredients of this, is that it could be as strong as a high-end EF4. Now, you don't want to see an EF4 tornado ever. and they're not common. They're very rare. They're almost as rare as the F5s, and they both run pretty rare. F5s being super rare. But so EF4s, what they're saying in the data is that possibly could happen given the ingredients. So the shear looks pretty decent, turning with height and direction. Speed shear looks good, low condensation level, up to 400 on the helicity values, significant hail up to 4 inches in diameter. So everything looks pretty good. Lapse rates are still good at 7. So looks like a pretty good event for Arkansas. So you guys make sure you are ready to go and you have a plan in place for your severe weather protection and precautions. All right, now that will be in the Monday evening time frame. All right, now let's go into Tuesday. Again, we're having some trouble with models producing any storms in Oklahoma, but they are still producing some down here across Texas, North Texas, Dallas-Fort Worth area, and into the hill country. So keep that in mind if you live down there. You might get some hail-producing thunderstorms. Also, you can see some hint of the cloud cover and rainfall in this area from that first wave during the day on Tuesday. That's moving kind of in this direction, which is going to kind of mess up Oklahoma as far as us being able to get some decent weather. One of the reasons. Now, they do have some storms that do cross over the Red River around 7 o'clock. Now, will they be significant or not? I don't know. They're going into that area here where it's pretty calmed down. And this structure, look to them, is just multicellular garbage. So right now, not too concerned. But again, that is 48 hours away, so we've got time to figure out what's going to happen with that. The tech model, which is actually does pretty good typically for severe weather season, it tries to on Tuesday. Let's see, let me go back. So here's Monday, just to show you that it also likes the area of southeastern Oklahoma and Arkansas. There's got a lot less activity in Arkansas, but it also favors Arkansas. Okay, so let's go into Tuesday. Now it does try to fire off a few thunderstorms here. Right around, is that 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock? But they kind of move north and then kind of fizzle. So they're having a tough time. So even this model thinks they're having a really tough time at going severe storms. They can't hold on. So that means the cap is too strong. It's missing something. There's something that's messing it up. But you can see up in Kansas, there was quite a few that got going there in northeastern Kansas right around 7 o'clock. Those actually kind of moved north and east and fizzled though. So this model's having a tough time keeping storms going. Now, whether or not it's a flaw in the model or whether it's picking up on something in the atmosphere that the other ones aren't seeing is to be determined. All right, now we do talk about rainfall. So tonight's rain looks pretty potent. Again, as long as those storms can get going here, with low-level jet in place, etc., through tomorrow morning, that's a lot of good rain. We just get clipped here in Oklahoma City, half an inch, I'll take it. About 1 inch to 2 inches once you get around Muskogee and probably into Arkansas and southwest Missouri. So that's a nice little cluster of rain. It's got to come with some severe weather, but this is that time of the year. And then there's that secondary batch here for southeastern Oklahoma with those supercells that may develop down here for Monday late. And then here on Tuesday, there's that little wave. You see that wave sweep through Kansas right there? So we'll see if anything comes out of Kansas and adds to the rainfall totals. But what you've noticed, this is why I started the broadcast with that first graphic, right? Because what do you see here? Well, what you see here is this. I gotta write really slow because I'm using a mouse, but fire danger. That is going to be with us, especially in this part of the state, and it will creep into this part of the state if we don't start getting some decent rain. But we'll worry about that later, but I just want to give you a heads up. Okay, so here's a look at our forecast temperatures the next several days. We're looking at a lot of 80s and 70s. We'll get briefly down to some 60s. Now, if you got some tender vegetation out there, watch the Thursday 14th and watch again on April 18th and 19th. As there will be some more 30s sneaking in across the state. So whether it's a frost or a freeze or just really, really cold, to be determined. Some sure low-lying valleys that typically get that kind of activity will see that. But I know you like to plant early. Everybody does. Once it starts warming up, you all get the green thumb and get itchy, right? Too busy, too tired of being cooped up. Get out there and get some of that air. All right, so that is everything I got here for you. So let's see here. YouTube, check in. By the way, so let me do a real quick recap for those that were late and just got in halfway through or whatever and don't know what's going on. So this will be your 30-second version. Just making sure everybody's still up and running and good. Okay. So tonight there's a front just to our north in Oklahoma City. So it's on the north side of town, so right around Edmond. It's stalled stationary, so it's not moving anymore, but it's kind of starting to drift a little bit more to the north. So we're supposed to be getting some storms forming along that boundary, and those would be some hail makers, heavy rain makers, and that will help to push the boundary back down south once we get a lot of them. In the interim, if we can get one or two supercell type storms to kind of rotate right along that boundary, just kind of on the south end of it or on top of it, you can, in theory, get a tornado out of it. And that could, in theory, happen, north side here of Oklahoma City, for example, eastward all the way up to Tulsa. It's a very low probability, but it's not zero. There's enough ingredients there that could happen. Anyway, so that line of storms will quickly merge into just a cluster, so that'll eliminate the tornado threat pretty quickly. But it will move south and east overnight, so expect some scattered showers, maybe rumbles of thunder here in Oklahoma City, points to the east as it drops about a half an inch of rain, a lot more rain east. All right, that moves out. Front clears most of the state except for southeast Oklahoma. So Monday evening, 5 and 6 o'clock, looking for a supercell or two to develop in southeast Oklahoma. For the last few counties of the state, kind of stretching up toward Fort Smith and then into Arkansas. So western half of Arkansas, you're under the gun. Tornadic supercell storms. Wish I had better news for you. I don't. Just be safe. Okay, so that's in the evening hours for Monday. All right, so now let's go into Tuesday. A disturbance moves through Texas, screws up the atmosphere for Oklahoma. Therefore, we don't get what we would have seen, which is a pretty decent severe weather outbreak. A lot of the ingredients are there. However, but because that's kind of happening, and we have a lack of convergence in the dry line out in west central Oklahoma, does not look like we're going to get any storms to develop. And if they do, they'll be short-lived, weak, because they're going to be moisture starved. So right now, that's the way it looks. Hopefully it stays that way, but we're still 48 hours away. So we're just now getting in that window where we get this high resolution data to kind of see these types of things to look for. So Tuesday could be a huge bust when the forecast is calling for an enhanced or a moderate risk of severe weather kind of a deal. If no weather happens, that's a bust. Okay, so that's kind of on the table now. So we'll see what it looks like tomorrow. And then Wednesday, as we've been talking about since last week, I think, the system's coming in the wrong time. It's coming way too early. So any severe weather with that will once again be in Arkansas, probably the eastern half of Arkansas on Wednesday, the big potent stuff. You'll still get some storms, storms, probably the eastern third of Oklahoma and western Arkansas. Most of those probably won't be severe though for Wednesday because they'll come in during the probably the early afternoon to middle afternoon, and then as they kind of as they go from 11 to 2, it's not much of a big deal usually. And then once we go after that from 3, 4, and 5, you run into better heating, so a lot more instability. And then things get a little more serious. So that's kind of how things are lining up right now in the timing for that. Which means the body of Oklahoma does not see a tornado at all, much less severe weather. So that's good news too. Let's see, you guys in North Texas, scattered stuff on Tuesday, both kind of midday and evening. For you, also on Monday, Dallas-Fort Worth, north and east and northeastern Texas. Tornado threat's low, but it's not zero, so it's potentially you could see something down there. Otherwise, some hail. And then in Kansas, you guys will get some action with the Tuesday deal. And that's about it for you. I think that's it. And then there are like long-term, Friday, Saturday. There's a couple little weak systems I think coming through. We're trying to come through. Moisture is a big question right now. The models can't agree on timing. They can't agree on anything that far out. They're having enough trouble as it is with this short-term stuff. So I'll look at that later, but in case there happens to be a little severe weather with that one. But for right now, I'm not going to worry too much about it. We got to get through these first 3 days, right? All right. So here's my plans. So for my job, we're back in the office as far as like teleworking versus being in the office now. On that kind of a mixed schedule. Some days I'll be in the office, so when I do, and if I do have time for a lunchtime live, sometimes I might do them from my car like I used to in the old days, right? So without all these little fancy graphics. But when I'm home, I can do the fancy graphics. But in the evenings, I'll be doing at least the weather updates like this, to be the forecast, right? If we do expect tornadoes, I will be covering those in Oklahoma. Now, so Monday, now tonight I'd like to cover a tornado if it happens at 1 o'clock in the morning, but I'm probably going to be asleep. I don't know. We'll see how long. I'll step and watch things, see how the trend goes. So if you see me cut in like between midnight and 1 a.m., that's not good because that means I'm not going to bed for a reason. But on Monday, I should be able to cover the tornadic supercells in far east and southeast Oklahoma into western Arkansas. So that's my plan, is to cover those. If anything happens in far northeast Texas, kind of the north Texas toward Dallas, I'll cover those too. Tuesday, obviously, I'll be watching to see if anything develops in the late afternoon and evening, and I'll cover those probably immediately. Because if they do go, and it depends on how it looks. If it looks like the data looks like now, it won't be much to worry about. But if it doesn't, it looks obviously a little bit more intense. Then I'll just cover those, because in that environment, a tornado could develop pretty quickly once the storms get going. It won't be like an hour or two later. It could be as quickly as 30 minutes from the time you get nothing to a storm and a tornado. So it could be that fast on Tuesday. That's assuming, again, that's the different outcome than it looks like tonight, which is a bust. And then Wednesday, I won't be covering the storms, because anything tornadic should be in the eastern half of Arkansas and moving away. So right now, that's my plan right now, and we'll see how it goes. Subject to change. And then finally, if you missed the start of the broadcast on Thursday, I'm doing a weather classroom series. So it's basically all about severe weather safety for the family, on what to look for, what to watch for, all about tornadoes, hail, lightning, etc. How to be safe, seek shelter, all that kind of stuff. So make sure you join that. It's a Facebook event. Let me post the link. Where is my link? Post it one more time. So make sure you RSVP and get on there. So I'd like to see you. So it's about half an hour. I'm going to show you a PowerPoint presentation, and then we're going to open up for questions, Q&A for another half hour. It's about 1 hour long, from 8 to 9 on Thursday. So make sure you attend that. If you haven't had a chance, make sure you share my blog and to read that. It's got a lot of the information we talked about tonight, but very, very short and condensed. Just the main points, the highlights. I think that was all I wanted to cover. Let me go through. I'll scan for a couple of questions here. Remember, if you have any questions directly for me, make sure you ask them at the end when I'm done with the maps. That way I can take a look at them, and I'll see what I can do. Meanwhile, usually Jody just steps in there and just handles everything now. Whew. Man, let me tell you, I needed 3 of me to run this thing. It was difficult to read all the comments and answer them and do everything I normally do. It was getting a little much, but she's doing good helping out. All right. Ziggy, I don't sleep. Can you tell? It's too much work. That's what Joey's always asking. Get your work done? I said, no, man. I never get my work done. It never ends. There's so much work. I need 3 of me. One would be to take vacation for the other 2. That's what I always joke about, but it ain't no joke. All right, let me look here. Rhonda, they said PDS, no weather. I have no idea what's going on, so I missed that whole conversation. They issued the watch. Okay, so remember they had a mesoscale discussion at the beginning of this broadcast. So let's go take a look. I'm glad you said that. Let's see what the dealie is. Oh, look at that. Storms. They started fast, man. Before I even got off the air, I was about to hang up the phone. Look at that. So I got our first storm up here. 1/2-inch size hail. So that's a sign that things are already underway. Now, it is potential. Again, since the front's coming on the north side of town, it's going to all be elevated and stay on the north side of the front in the colder air, drier air at that. 39 dew point 41. So there's no threat, really, of much severe weather other than some hailstones that will come down in that type of environment. But let's take a look at the watch. So where are we? Oh, I don't have... Let's do this. Current watches. Oh, where's that watch? I thought you said there was a watch. Well, let's go see. It may not be on this graphic yet. Sometimes they have to coordinate, and each system will do it at a different time. And then they have different... here it goes. Yeah, so this did come out. So this is the little thing in red here. So severe thunderstorm watch. Yeah, they don't have it typed up yet. So you see this? This is the preliminary verbiage for it. So in other words, there's no details given yet. That'll come out here in a few minutes. So they always do this first just to get the outline, and then they put in the wording or the text. And it takes a while for all these systems to coordinate. So that's why we don't have anything on the watch yet. But you're on top of it. Proud of you. Way to go. Let's see. Phil says, I've been following you for 8 years. Woohoo! That's a long time. Actually, I would like to know probably who's been the longest follower. And you're probably it, Phil. You're probably close. So I've been doing, at least for the broadcast side. So I've been doing the broadcast side since 2014. So that's exactly 8 years. All right, since I've been doing this on Facebook, and I think I didn't do it on YouTube at the beginning. I didn't start doing it to YouTube till later, which that was a mistake on my part. Should have done both. But at the time, Facebook really was for whatever reason, that's where I built this social media platform. And I didn't really worry about YouTube. I thought it was a TV type channel for videos. So I didn't really think that through. So to do it all over again, I would have gone back and done it on both channels. But so I'm late to my own party for YouTube. But otherwise, yeah. So definitely for Facebook's going good. Let me think. And then prior to that, I opened up the Facebook page itself in 2010. So that's when I had retired from the TV weather, 2007, at the end of that year, to go work for the federal government. And then I kind of missed, helping people out with the forecast. So then in 2010, I opened up a Facebook page and started doing Facebook posts. And it went viral. I mean, it just went nuts. Organic reach, you guys were just sharing it, loving it, liking it. So it grew and grew and grew and grew. So I was storm chasing back then at the time. And then after that, I said, I've had enough storm chasing, so let's just do a little television studio in my home office. And so I built one and then started in 2014 and got some, archaic graphics going on back then. I'm sorry, I don't know why you're looking at my static page. Oh, man. Pay attention. I'm over here in deep thought. So, so this been doing that since now going on 8 years. And then we'll keep doing it as long as my brain works. So, I need some ginkgo biloba. So make sure you send me plenty. Tanya, I've been in Arkansas. I've been panicking all week. Well, don't panic. I gave everybody the details here tonight on Arkansas. So you know at least the days to worry, the time, and then when you need to be aware and prepared. So that's kind of how you would do it. All right. Oh, so if you don't have it yet, make sure you get my weather app, AT's Weather to Go, Apple and Google Play. It predicts tornadoes, gives you advanced lead time warning. I don't know why anybody wouldn't want to use it. If I came up to everyone in the country and I said, hey, how would you like to have 15 extra minutes to seek shelter from a tornado before the tornado actually is even warned for your specific spot? I'm pretty sure not a single person would say, no, I don't want that. So everybody needs to be using my app. Everybody. So make sure you spread the word, spread the love out there. Okay. By the way, thanks for all the stars tonight. And by the way, the app is getting a little bit of a facelift. Amanda. The app's getting a little bit of a facelift where the roads and stuff will be actually overlaid on top of the radar image. You don't have to worry about the opaque slider to transparency. Now you can toggle the slider to opaque or transparent for the radar, and the other map stuff, so it kind of can see where the highways are underneath it. I usually set mine like at almost like a 60-40 split. So the new version coming out is going to have those overlaid on top. That way you can have your fully opaque data view and still see all the town names, city names, and highways. So look for that here soon. Should be rolling out probably about a week, in theory. Knock on wood. I'm a little busy right now, but I think I can make it happen. We'll see. Okay, anything else? I think I looked at all the model data that came in tonight. I don't think there was anything that I wanted to see that hadn't come in, but let me think here for a minute. You stay there. You sit tight. Okay, there were a couple more. So we can look together. I'm just curious. These are these cam models that come in, and they come in a little late. I'm just seeing what it does for Tuesday. Yeah, Tuesday it's struggling. It's got all that stuff going down in Texas, and doesn't have much at all going for Oklahoma. All right, it's good. I like that. I like these dry models. So you would think, as a meteorologist, I'd be rooting for gloom and doom, but honestly, I'm over it. I'm too old for that stuff. All right, so here we go. There's Monday. So there's your North Texas supercell type storms. There's southeast Oklahoma, and then there's Arkansas. So no big change there. It kind of jives with my forecast. I like this model. Did pretty good. And then there's Tuesday afternoon and evening. Same idea. Clusters of storms down here in North Texas and northwestern Texas, maybe crossing over the border down here. And that's it. So, man, that is nothing. And then let's go to this model, the last one I'll pick. This one right here is usually the most aggressive. I mean, if there's even a chance in Hades of a supercell storm, it's going to plot one. So, for example, there's tonight going nuts northeast. And then let's go through time. Oh, there's those ones down there. Okay. All right. And then let's go over here. Oh, yeah. See? Look at this. It blows up 5 o'clock here across Kansas, back building into northern Oklahoma, and new little supercells all through central Oklahoma, kind of along the I-35 corridor, and each of these having helicity tracks immediately. So again, a helicity track is really just a rotation of a thunderstorm, so in other words a supercell, but also indicates potential for some hail and wind. Now, if conditions are right, you can get a tornado, but in the early preliminary stage like this, probably hailers. They do blow up, they do mature through Oklahoma City at 5 o'clock, and then at 6 o'clock they die. And they try to rebuild again at 7 o'clock there, south and east. And then that thing gets merged with stuff come out of Texas, and that messes up, and that dies around 8, 9 o'clock. So this is, again, the most aggressive model. It's always the most aggressive model. Ironically, it's a lot less aggressive than it was the last time I looked at it, which means it's trending downward in its output of aggression. So you can almost call it the wish model. If you were a meteorologist wanting gloom and doom, this is your wish model. Okay, let's take a look up in Kansas. Let's see what happens in Iowa. So there's that little zipper of storms here from Oklahoma into Kansas. So it's got those going for you guys up in Kansas, explodes up into Kansas City area. And that quickly moves into southern Iowa at 7 o'clock. So that's some ugly stuff right there. So in other words, this favors just kind of a track with this first wave of tornadic thunderstorms, something like this, okay? So that covers that region. And then the models are trying to form, it looks like a squall line with embedded supercells, secondary after this, late at 9 o'clock, following that first wave. And as it comes into that environment, it should weaken. So let's see what happens. Yeah, look at that. Dies out. Why? Because again, if you get prior showers and storms, especially heavy ones, what goes up must come down. So it's like a substance layer of sinking air, suppressive, cooler, more stable. And then so when a new batch comes in, it's not feeding into an unstable area, therefore it doesn't survive, and it eventually slowly dies. So it's kind of that. All right, so that was up north with the very aggressive model. Now let's go back into a little bit more conservative model when it wants to be, usually the middle of the road. Let's see what it does. Okay, a little different look. It doesn't have anything zippering across Kansas on Tuesday afternoon, evening. Keeps everything in Nebraska. That squall line moves through Nebraska, then comes down into Kansas. This is the one that clips northeast Oklahoma, by the way, late. So it's just one big long squall line, which actually falls apart. That's pretty lame. That does not look like much of a big deal to me. All right, let's go for another high resolution, or short-term high resolution. Supposedly our flagship model. Let's see what it does. All right, on Tuesday, it fires off storms in Iowa, and that's it. So remember, I've had no time to analyze the rest of the surface pattern with this, so I have no thoughts other than to tell you, you've had one outcome that did this. You had one outcome that went this way, right? It did this. Actually, I think it went back down here and then kind of fizzled. So this one went this way. This one went this way. And then you had just these guys. And all they did was just pop up and kind of drift this way. So good luck making all heads and tails of all this nonsense. But there you go. There's 3 different types of models using 3 different types of physics, getting 3 different types of outcomes. Welcome to my world. So good luck to the meteorologist trying to forecast that zone. I'm going to stick to Oklahoma. It's hard enough. All right, let me think. I think I'm out of here. I think I'm done. It's oh no, I want to go check on those storms up north. Hold on a second. Let's see what they're doing, and then I'm done. Yeah, they're pretty far up north. You guys, Ponca City, Lamont, Red Rocks, just a small hail, and some of these. I think we had what, a half-inch size, and that one's still a half-inch size. So some thunder, lightning, that kind of deal. What you really have to watch for tonight, these are kind of closer to what would be an elevated frontal feature, like an 850 front. What you really have to watch for is anything that kind of gets going down here. All right, if we get some thunderstorms in this neck of the woods, this is where you have the potential to interact with the cold front boundary / warm front boundary, depending on which way it's moving or if it's stationary. Right now it looks something like this. Okay, so you would not want to get storms riding along this boundary here, because that would ingest the vorticity along it and could produce a tornado. And you can see that's kind of near on the north side of Oklahoma City, kind of in the Edmond area, and then back out toward El Reno. So that's kind of where it starts. So we shall see. I'll be keeping an eye on things for the next hour or two, and then if it looks like we're going to get a tornadic type thunderstorm, I will definitely do a live broadcast. But most of you will be asleep, so make sure you use your No Weather Radio and my weather app. Make so you know what's going on. Keep a pair of shoes by your bed, this time of the year when you have severe weather, because if you have to get up in a hurry, you're going to need yourself. Oh, you said you couldn't see the screen, probably because I didn't show it to you. Sorry. My brain's is wearing down here. It's been a long day. Okay, so let me go back. So this is the area of the elevated stuff up here. So this is small hail, this region, moving north and east. What you have to watch for is the front that's snaking, I should say. Kind of like this, right? So you have to watch for any storms that were to form along this region for potential tornadic capabilities. It'll ingest the vorticity or the spin along this boundary, and that could help to cause the storm. So thanks for the note where you couldn't see my screen. So, I don't know what I was thinking. But anyway, so we have to watch for this little spot right here. So I'll watch this little spot right here for a while, and then I'll probably have to call it. And then hopefully nothing happens like that. It's just storms, but there will be some hail. So just don't be surprised you get some hail out of some of these, especially potentially here in Oklahoma City, and if you get those stronger storms. But other than that, most of the cluster of the heavier thunderstorms are kind of in this region for the hail type activity, and then larger hail kind of in this zone here, then in this zone here. This zone up here would be smaller hail. Then this zone up here would be really small hail. It's like half-inch size diameter, which is where this is. And this could be up to golf balls in this area. And then pins, it's real close. There's a line somewhere in the sand, and some of these are going to be up to 2-inch size or more. So we'll see. But anyway, so some hail, pockets of wind, usual standard Oklahoma weather. All right. Oh, the watch. Let me see if the wording came out. Somebody just said I was talking about the watch. So let me see if I can get some new deets. No. Hold on a second. I gotta go find. Let's go back to Storm Prediction Center, because this is ridiculous. I should be able to get a watch information and the wording. There it is. Okay. So there's your watch. So here's Oklahoma City, and this is Oklahoma County. So they kept Oklahoma County right out of the watch, even though the tail end of the front is right on top of us. They took us out of the watch, kept us out just to our north, and they have it looks like more of an elevated type storm event, so that's where they're going to keep it more anchored to the north. And then if you read the verbiage, let's take a look here. Weather Service has issued a severe thunderstorm watch for southeast Kansas, southwest Missouri, north central, northeastern Oklahoma until 4 o'clock in the morning. Scattered large hail likely with isolated very large hail events to 2 inches in diameter possible. It almost sounds like they read my mind. No, we just think alike because we see the same data. Isolated damaging wind gusts to 70 miles per hour possible. Thunderstorms are expected to develop and strengthen through the late evening hours. Strongest cells will pose a risk of large hail. Eventually, some risk of gusty damaging wind gusts may also occur later tonight. Severe thunderstorm watch is approximately along in 45 statute miles north and south of the line. Okay, blah, blah. blah, 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 blah. All right, that's it. So there was no, I think somebody said a PDS watch. I don't think that was correct. There's no wording in here for that. This is your standard severe thunderstorm watch, but it's got some hail. The risk of 2-inch plus size hail is a moderate, which means a 30% probability. Probabilities when you're talking about severe weather are difficult to translate to reality. Doesn't work too well. I mean, if I tell you there's a 30% chance of having 2-inch size hail, what do you do with that information? You know, because I can't tell you where a storm that has not developed yet, where it's actually going. But once one goes, and I tell you where it's going, and I tell you what's in it, it's got 2-inch hail, well, all of a sudden your probability goes from 30% to 100% if you're in the path of that one. If you're not in the path of that one, your probability is 0%. So that's what I'm saying. Probabilities are very difficult, but it is what it is. But on the scale also, right here, it says tornado probability is low. EF2, stronger tornadoes, is very low. Okay, severe wind is moderate. So there you go. And severe hail is moderate, and big hail they call it significant hail. 2 inches in diameter is considered significant hail. Now, when you get to giant hail, it's when you got the baseballs and softballs. Let's see here. Has a 60% probability of severe hail. Only a 2% of a very large, strong tornado, and only 10% chance of a tornado. So like I said, it's low. It's not 0, but it's low. All right. That's it. I've told you everything I can tell you. It's I'm blue in the face, and it's I'm blue in the face. Guys, great. Thanks for watching. Thanks for sharing, liking, being a supporter. A lot of you joined up as subscribers for Facebook, so I appreciate that. Make sure you get access to the closed group page when you do. But make sure you have to answer all the questions, though, to get access to it. And I think that's about it for me. We'll do this again tomorrow. I'll probably do some live coverage in the evening for those storms out in eastern Oklahoma and western Arkansas. And for lunch, I'll see if I can do it. If I do, it'll be a short, like 10-minute tops, 5-minute, 10 minutes video. Just live in my car at lunchtime or something like that, okay? That's it for me. Guys, thanks again. We'll talk soon. Take care. And be safe.